No, that's fine.
What are all those medals?
I'll never tell. At least not while the sun's shining.
Hey, crotch rot. I'm gonna slurp my lifer's juice out of my own gum.
Yeah, I guess I should have gotten shots beforehand.
Despite my frustration with the military aspect of that movie, I really do love the dialogue. Great banter. It's the one good thing it's got. Good morning, everybody. It's Monday.
Morning,
Do I
guys.
sound excited? I don't sound excited at all. I'm not excited. It's freaking Monday. But we're going to talk about a film that hopefully will get me pretty excited because it's it's Ridley Scott's first movie. He made it in 1977, the same year Star Wars came out. And it starred Harvey Keitel and Keith Carradine. And it's one of the films that really I have nothing negative to say about that he did. Not that he hasn't done other films like that, because Alien is a perfect film, in my opinion. And it established rules of how to make a horror film intelligently. The other thing I liked about Alien. Rules that he himself would break later when he did Prometheus. That even when a character is doing the smartest thing possible, they still might die. That's what Alien established. Then in Prometheus, a prequel to Alien, almost every death in that film was preventable if they hadn't been morons. Every single death was done, happened because of stupidity. So, I don't know. Some people got it and then lose it. And Ridley seems to be one of those guys that can't make film anymore. And it's sad. Because I'm still a fan. I am still a fan of his. But good morning, guys. Looks like we got a few people watching right now. Greetings. Andy from the UK. Penny is here. A few silent people. Unless it's you guys. I don't know. But good morning, Anima. Good morning, John. Good morning, Martine.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Let's see. So, yeah, we're going to talk about Duellists.
Yeah, I think it's funny how differently we view this movie because it did not work for me. Not on the first watch, not on the rewatch.
Yeah, look, some people can't watch quality films. They can't understand or appreciate them. They don't get it. Not everybody gets it. The film is a masterpiece. It's a masterpiece of cinema. It's a masterpiece in storytelling, structurally, character-wise. It's based on a true story about two men during the Napoleonic Wars that found themselves at odds with one another. They were of equal rank when it all started. And all that was told is that one was a duelist. He was a regular duelist. He loved to duel. And of course he was. He was just not all there. And he had just that morning had a duel and wounded a man. It was over an argument over something with the man's wife. The
mayor's nephew was the one he dueled with.
It was the mayor's nephew. That's who it was. And word got back to their general. So he orders this other young officer, lieutenant at the same rank, to go send him the message to report and to confine himself to quarters. But when he delivers the message, Harvey Keitel blames his character, blames in real life too, blamed the messenger.
Yeah, he
And
was not happy with the way he was
he didn't
ordered
like the way
when
he
was
did it.
under arrest.
Yeah, he didn't like it.
And the
So
fun thing
he
is, the guy,
challenged him to a duel immediately. They went out, and of course, the lieutenant that gave him the message was wounded in the fight. And the thing that this psychopathy of the main character antagonist. And once again, this is a book written by Joseph Conrad, and the book is pretty well adapted in this film. So when somebody criticizes the story, I understand it might not be your cup of tea, but you don't get a better writer than Joseph Conrad.
I just couldn't connect to any of the
It's okay.
characters.
That's okay. It doesn't mean it's bad, because it is a classic and it is really good. And I loved it, and I was a child. I fell in love with the film because it's so beautiful, and I couldn't believe later when I read how the film was made. Ridley pulled that off with a budget that was ridiculously constraining. They had one wagon to represent every wagon in the film. That's all they could afford.
Crazy.
It's just such an amazing film, and more so to this day, it is considered one of the single most accurate duel films displaying sword fighting, the different kinds of sword fighting, because the story takes place over 25 years, almost 30 years. And the dueling styles changed every few years. And so they had to fight in that style each time. And my favorite moment is, and you'll see it, we'll show it to you, is when the main character, the protagonist, is Keith Carradine's character, and he's scared, and you can tell he is scared before this fight because his entire body is shaking, not just from the fact it's chilly that morning,
And he has flashbacks too.
and he's having flashbacks, which exhibits PTSD. It's part of the process, which Joseph Conrad included in his novel, and even though it is called a novel, it is based on two real people who really did this, because it's also cataloged as well what happened. The one big difference from the book to the film and the true story is the fact that despite this dueling that occurred between these two men, they actually became pen pals with each other, writing each other from different battles. They were often not in the same war, and that was actually part of the plan to keep the duels from happening, was having them in different skirmishes and having them at different ranks. And it was the tactic, and it didn't work. They kept having
In the
to
end, they're
duel.
both generals still. So
In the end, yeah. And by the end, and not, we'll talk about the end there, because the film shows how it ends. It happened that way in real life too. But visually, what Ridley had happen at the end of that film, the film was really probably all thanks to serendipity, because almost everything that happens in that film that's beautiful was accidental. Happenstance. Not accidental, happenstance.
That last shot is amazing.
That was just happened, and it got captured on camera, and they couldn't believe the luck they had on that morning to shoot that scene, the final scene. And Harvey Keitel is despicable in the film. Admirable while also despicable, because he just is relentless with Keith Carradine's character. And I never memorized the characters' names. I just remember the actors. It's something.
That's what you have me for.
Yeah, she makes fun of me for it. So, but I hope everybody's having a good Monday morning. We dropped from 6 down to 3. Wow. I guess other people didn't like this film.
And it's daylight saving, so I guess people are missing an hour of sleep.
Yeah, something. But we had 6 people. We're now down to 3.
Yeah.
So I guess I'll go ahead and bring this baby up. I will let Martin know, if he didn't already know, that we have the new ad break temporarily, that I took that music out. So hopefully we will see a cease of YouTube claiming us for a commercial that is by a client who paid for the right to use that music. So
God, I hope it stops.
Yeah, I saw the
Annoying.
message last night.
okay, good. So, but anyway, I'll hopefully it won't mess up my audio. Let's see, videos. Yeah, take your time. Yeah. Good. Computer took its time. I'm so glad. Duelist slideshow. Here we go. I keep hearing a shh sound.
That's Tron.
Oh,
Some
okay.
noise in the background.
Here we go, guys. Ridley Scott's first movie. And really, it was probably one of the biggest films for both Keith Carradine and Harvey Keitel. But it sadly, because of the fact it was low budget, they shot this for $900,000, which would be like $5.5 million today, which is extremely low budget. Based on Joseph Conrad's story, The Duel.
We've seen that before, that low budget movies are just genius because they had to be genius. Because they hadn't thrown all that money at themselves. They had to think.
Every single penny is on screen in this film. And of course, it shows this little girl with her geese walking along, and she happens upon the first duel that starts the whole story moving forward. And of course, the lighting, the filters that were used, but also the amazing saber training that they went through for this film.
I enjoyed the choreographies, especially on the saber duels.
Look, he's a DJ.
And I got to tell you, another antagonist in this story is his best friend, who is always his, what do they refer to that as in the duel? I forget what it's called. His number one, the person that's always there as witness.
I only know the German word. Sekundant.
And there, of course, is Keith Carradine. And another thing that's amazing is the casting in this film. And already we have seen right there, that gentleman, very famous English actor by the name of, hold on, I'll get it, Robert Stephens. And he was a movie star over in England at the time. So Ridley had, it was a coup to get some of the cast. Albert Finney is in this. Sir Albert Finney. Edward Fox is in it.
You know what I find so funny is the general asks, who knows this Lieutenant Phil? And what's the other's name? Dubert. He says, yeah, I've met him a couple of times. So
if he had kept his mouth shut.
He volunteers himself into the situation because then the general's like, yeah, okay, so you go tell him he's under arrest.
Yeah, if he just kept his mouth shut.
Yeah, just don't say
they would have picked somebody else.
Because he had a name already for bad temper and continuous dueling, which is why the general has had it at this point. And so he's like, enough. I'm putting him under arrest. And that sets off this whole spiral of duels because they just keep running into each other wherever they are in the world.
They end up on the Russian front together, freezing to death. And it's such a dramatic moment. And again, they didn't have the budget to show any battles. So what they do is they would just decorate, and they would show you like moments between battles as part of the story process. And it was really freaking beautiful what they did.
Yeah, in Russia, they showed us dead bodies lying around, frozen.
Yeah.
And I think in Lübeck, we just see soldiers at camp, arm wrestling and stuff. It's really very intelligently done.
And we also get to watch the changing of uniforms.
Oh, yeah.
So historic accuracy is really spot on with this film. And that's the two things this film also gets complimented for. It's not just the filmmaking, but the historical aspects, and then from the dueling community, which there is a community out there all about sword fighting and saber fighting that love this movie because of its accuracy and the depiction of how duels were done. The sword fighting, it's not fancy like you would see in a classic Robin Hood film or something. Instead, it's very functional, and it shows the injuries happening the way they would actually happen. Hand, scalp.
Yeah,
arm.
That one. When the blood is gushing down his face. That was well done.
It's done right here. Now, this is the scene where all he had to do was take the orders and just leave it at that. But he keeps trying to engage with this guy, challenging him verbally. Not to a duel, but challenging him verbally. And this character is like, look, I'm following orders. And then finally, he pushes him far enough. And that's what it is. He's pushing him to get a duel out of him. He wants to fight him.
And the other guy's like, dude, I'm arresting you for a duel, and you want a duel with me right now. Are you crazy?
Exactly. And so he agrees to it, and they go out there, and he gets wounded. And of course, that should be the end of the duel. But no, it's not enough for this character. I forget his name again.
Ferro.
Yeah, it's
arm
unacceptable.
pumped, and he cannot finish the duel. That's his beef. He needs to finish, and he can't. And the other guy just never wanted in this. He has a scratch on his face to wear. But he knows this isn't over yet.
But in reality, during this fight, each fight is a different winner. And De Beer actually wins that first fight, even though he has to back out. This is a great scene with another great English actor, Tom Conti, as his physician roommate and friend. And he's the one who suggests, well, what you need to do is get yourself separated, because this is a time of war, and we're getting ready to go into war, and it's illegal to duel during wartime.
That's how Ferro gets off. He doesn't have to go in front of the commission because war is coming, and they need every man out there on the field.
Yep.
That's why the case gets dropped.
And once again, the casting in this is amazing. Tom Conti is a great actor from that period. We still have him. I don't think he passed away yet.
I don't know.
And no, I checked, I think last time. I'm pretty sure we still have Tom Conti. But again, look at the lighting. And they were really going for the Monet lighting. Lights coming in from windows, lighting the wall behind them. That's a lighting style really started by Monet.
It makes you feel like you're looking at a painting, yeah.
And there's Robert Stephens. And Ridley Scott did that with Blade Runner, too. He is a fan of Monet and loved the dramatic lighting. Now, the difference here is I want to bring up the film. I just forgot the name of it. Stanley Kubrick's film. Oh, yeah. Not Tom Jones. It's Barry Lyndon, which came out before this film. And Barry Lyndon is like hailed as this amazing film. And I don't consider it 1/10 as good as this film. And the themes of Barry Lyndon are all over the place. And so is any of the plotting that takes place within it. And it's structurally not a very good story. It's overall, if you were sitting down and somebody described it to you, good story. But then you get into minutia of making it into a film, and it's kind of a mess. This film is structurally sound from beginning to end. It has a point from the beginning all the way to the very end. And the theme in it, is, of course, man versus man. Clear. And
it's also a bit kind of a story about bullying. Because
it is about bullying. There is bullying. But once again, with bullying, it's man versus man.
Yeah.
And that's the theme. So, this character here, he's trying to figure out, how do I get out of this without looking like a coward? Because he's no coward. Also, another thing here is politics. It's very subtle in how they did it, but the main character, Keith Carradine, is not an imperialist. He serves the Imperial Army, but he does so almost begrudgingly. He's more of a man of honor than he is anything. Whereas Harvey Keitel's character is beloved by many characters, and you'll see that throughout the film. Edward Fox's character even calls him scum for being a turncoat against the Emperor, Napoleon, because he goes right back to the royal family, because the royal family took over again when Napoleon was arrested and imprisoned by the British. The arm wrestling scene.
Yeah.
Wonder how long you've been arm wrestling? Since the beginning of people.
I like how he gets a bit pissed about his arm never having properly healed from the wound in the first duel. He's complaining about that.
Yeah, he piss and moans a lot about things.
Mm-hmm.
So they're sitting around. This is what is referred to as sojourning in the military, in between battles. And it's something that frustrates military people to this day. It's the hurry up and wait thing that we do. It's always been there with the military, always been there, all the way back to the first major militaries, from the Trojans to Rome, you know. And there he meets this girl he previously knew before, and they start a love affair with each other. And it's actually really cute, their relationship, but it's also tragic. Because
he's not serious with her.
Well, he's not serious with her.
About the marriage offer, and he's like, "Yeah, go marry." That's not what he wanted to hear.
No, it's not what she wanted, and it leads to a moment later where she's talking to him, you know, because her relationship fell apart with the other man.
He died,
and she was told to go back to De Bear. You know, he'll take you back in. And it's really sad. She's a very good actor too. Her part in this film is so essential, but it's not integral to the overall story. It's just essential to making it a good film, because her character helps to show the other aspect of his personality and how he has great difficulty thinking outside of the military. He's very military. And he fears that connectivity, and a lot of soldiers do fear being connected to somebody when they're doing something else. And once again, the lighting of this morning, they only had it's called the magic hour. They had an hour to shoot this scene,
and that's duel number 2.
Duel number 2, and they would find the most beautiful locations, these abandoned houses that they would find to shoot some of the scenes. Some of them weren't abandoned, like this one wasn't. And there's a palm tree there. You see that?
Oh, yeah. Now that you
and it's where they shot it at, that they were able to find that location, because they're trying to show the different locations of the battles from the war, you know, where their locations were. So they would try to look
at this point.
Yeah, it's crazy, some of the stuff. And again, the sword technique here. I love this too, when he breaks away to sneeze. There, right here. He's like, excuse me. And then he turns to sneeze. And Keitel's character, will you hurry up? You know. Oh, this is such an amazing scene. And once again, you know, each battle kind of goes to one or the other, but because there's an injury, it can't be continued. And in this one, Keitel clearly wins the duel. And they should have it should have been there, because he stabbed him. And he was incapable of finishing. Well, that should mean that the duel is over. But just like the real guy in real life, he wouldn't accept it. And we'll need to finish this on another day. And like I said, this duel, the duel, lasted between 25 and 30 years because of this. And again, I'm pointing out in this film, they do completely take it out that the two of them wrote each other from campaigns because they were actually in different campaigns and would just occasionally cross over by the length of a city. And that's when this would happen because he had his agents, his men constantly looking out for him, and they hounded him.
Oh, yeah.
And that's why, really, if you pay attention, that guy right there on the right is really kind of a villain in this story, too, because he hounds him, too. Now, this gentleman here is another great Irish-English actor. I forget his name, but he's been in a lot of films. Hold on, I'll find it. It is Alan Armstrong. He was in Clear and Present Danger with Harrison Ford. He often plays Irishman. But another thing that's not well known about this film, Pete Postlethwaite, who we lost him a few years back, Irish actor, he's in the film too. But the narrator is Stacy Keach, classic American actor. And
he's about to sneeze again with his stab wound.
Yeah, I think it happens like 3 times in the film. His sneeze.
In this scene when he's like freshly wounded and he has to sneeze and she's trying to distract him. We both winced at that scene when we watched it. We were like, oh,
because sneezing when wounded, it really sucks. Yeah. But again, pointing out, Stacy Keach is a great classic American movie and TV star, and he's the narrator of the film. Another major coup by Ridley Scott, getting Stacy Keach as the narrator.
And at this point, everybody who knows one of the two guys tries to talk them out of it. Just end it, shake hands, forget it, move on.
Which he'd be happy. There he is. That's Alan Armstrong, great actor. I think that it wouldn't have been hard to talk Keith Carradine's character out. What's his character? Dubert? No, it's the other. Dubert. Is it Dubert? Okay, Dubert. Because he doesn't really want to do it. He's not into this. He's compelled by honor. And all he needs is for Keitel's character to stop.
But Ferrell is crazy. He can't let go.
Because he does try avoiding him. And you'll see it when he'll see them. He'll see either his number 2 or he'll see Keitel, and you'll see the joy on his face just leave. It just pours out of his face. And the woman there, she is a handsome woman. Her name is Diana Quick. She's been in a lot of films. She's still actively acting in film and television over in England.
She even goes to Ferrell and tries to talk him out of dueling her boyfriend.
Yes, she does. She confronts him right here. Yeah. And he just sort of mocks her a little bit, mocking him and mocking her at the same time, mocking Carradine's character. And I love the dead look she gives him here. Mm. You are nothing.
Yeah, she is shitting right back at him, too. Which for a woman in that time takes a perfect.
Well, the French were notoriously outspoken people. They, it's odd that a lot of the liberty we gained here in the United States really started in France. And it was because of Thomas Jefferson and Ben Franklin that they were so inspired by the way the French were that they brought that back here to the United States. A lot of people don't know that.
That's when she tells him about the marriage offer by the gunnery sergeant who has left the army.
And it's her just reaching out to him going, hey, I'm getting offers. Are you going to take me? Are you going to marry me? Are you serious with me? And he's not. And he's not.
So you should marry him.
And it's heartbreaking because it's clear he has feelings for her.
Oh, yeah.
but he just the other thing I think that's in there is the duel. He has that over his head, and it's the albatross around his neck.
He's also a soldier, so the
So
army
he's
is
got
just
being
like,
a soldier, and he's got this ongoing duel hanging over his head all the time. That thinking about happiness, because happiness is fleeting for him, and you see it every single time he's confronted with this duel. All the joy he was feeling, because you see him have happy moments, gone.
yeah.
It just leaves him. Again, always side lighting. Every scene is side lit, and it's beautiful. And again, I want to bring up Barry Lyndon, because in that film, Stanley Kubrick did it artificially because he had that kind of money. Ridley did this with actual natural lighting. They barely had to use any electrical lighting.
That's impressive.
It really is. And
again, saved a bunch of
here she
money.
is with the tarot cards.
Yeah,
And
she
she's-
seeks advice. She doesn't know.
And
what to
it's
do.
telling her, as I recall, to move on.
Yeah, well, she's between two men and wants to find out what to do. And the fortune teller reads her cards and tells her, you need to follow your intuition.
And again, we are seeing a difference now of, I think, 10 years at this point as we go into the third
6 years.
duel. Is it
6
6 years?
Yeah.
It's getting close to the 10 years, and it's already changing, and they're fighting with different swords now. These are more curved sabers that they're fighting with, heavier blades. This was used by horse officers, which is what they are at this point. They're horse officers now. Cavalry.
Mm-hmm.
And I love this scene because it kind of reminds me of one of the battles, the one with Tim Roth in Rob Roy, which is another sword fighting film that's very well done. That's a film you and I need to see sometime. Again, based on a real person. Again, based on a real person, Rob Roy. And it's a great film. Liam Neeson nails it. Great sword fighting. Tim Roth's death in that is amazing because he's like really surprised when he dies. He's like, "Oh, you killed me. I was winning." And this one, it shows they're bloody, beaten, and exhausted. And I love that there's just no energy in them. They're swinging like wild men at this point, flailing their arms instead of using them as instruments of death. And this guy, like two cats fighting, grabs a cape and throws it over them to separate them. But look at that lighting, all natural lighting. There was no electrical lighting used in any of this scene or this scene. Again, something you'll see later in Blade Runner. The same kind of lighting style, based off of Monet. Everything is side lit from windows, rather than having front lighting, back lighting. They just lit everything. They would use boards. I don't know if you guys know what a board is, but a board it's a white board, and it's used off camera to reflect light back at something in order to light the back of it, so it's not a harsh shadow on their backs, the opposite side from wherever the light source is. So by using these boards, they're able to light them a little bit, and so you don't get the harsh, stark blacks to white in the lighting. Again, I worked in film and I've done a lot of lighting for film, so and I use a lot of lighting in my comic books when I do that, and everybody compliments the way I light my comic books because I use the same style. I use this style, side lighting, a lot.
It really works.
Because, once again, Ridley Scott was probably one of the most influential, and he doesn't get called this when he deserves to be, cinematographers in the history of cinema, in my opinion. I consider him one of the greatest director of photographies in the history of film. I don't consider him as good a director as he is a director of photography. because his films will always be beautiful, but they're not always good. Even though that's backlit, it's side backlit.
Side backlit.
Reflective lighting.
We've had a breach, in case you haven't noticed.
No, I haven't. No, I haven't seen any of the comments, so I've been focused on what we're doing here. I want to make sure that I do pay attention to everybody. Jeebus is here. Good morning, Jeebus. How you doing, my friend? Glenn Fleming is here. So we got 2 friends from the UK here. It's good to see everybody. And he did break it. So let me pause this for a second, and we will do a video. Let's see, what video shall we do? I think I'll do this one.
Everlight, protect Grog and the rest of our friends, wherever they are.
And I'm not sure what he's talking about. What? Put that back up again? Saggy, that's Saggy Melon, said, play stupid games with win stupid prizes, just like Backdoor Gerry did. I hardly ever play stupid games. I don't participate. Because once I recognize it's a dumb game, I'm like, I'm out.
Yeah.
Yeah. You'll never see better lighting in a movie than when Rachel appears in Blade Runner. Absolutely. Because that scene, the toughest part of that is it was backlit because the background is the light source. And yet he uses reflective lighting to side light the characters. And her scene is probably one of the best use of lighting I'd seen in film. And it still hits me to this day how beautiful that scene is when Deckard meets Rachel for the first time. I also love the way they use that filter on the window, and it lowers, and then you get this strong light beam coming in, hitting them, both characters, during the VK test. It's amazing. I love that movie, Blade Runner. It's absolutely will always be the number 1 favorite film of all time. And this film is my number 5. Top 5 is Ridley Scott and John Carpenter.
Yeah.
No
I'm
other director.
with you in Blade Runner, you know that.
And I know all the directors. I will talk about the directors, all the way to John Ford, William Wyler, Billy Wilder, Blake Edwards. My education was in film with my dad. My dad, and it's so funny and ironic with my dad because Dad was very anti-Hollywood, but yet he would sit there and talk to me about Hollywood all the time. And we talk about actors, the history of actors and their lives, and we would talk about directors and what films they did, and Cecil B. DeMille's movies. I forgot his name right now, a German director who is best known for being the first Mr. Freeze in the 1960s Batman, Otto Preminger. What a great director that guy was. Amazing. But he's also a very good actor. He played himself in a movie once, Sunset Strip. I showed you where the guy's dead in the pool at the beginning, and he's the narrator, and he's already dead, and he's narrating the story.
Yeah.
That's, he plays himself in that movie. At the end of the film, he plays a director that lures the murderess out of her hiding place by making her think that he's going to shoot her revival. And it's crazy. It's a crazy film. She's insane, but sadly, it's a tragic character. But agreed. Kubrick is also a master of light, but again, I'm going to say about this film compared to not Rob Roy, but Barry Lyndon, which was a contemporary film to this, it gets far more accolades than this film, and I think it's undeserved. I think Kubrick's lighting, as beautiful as it was artificial, whereas Ridley, through his genius, used natural lighting in this and pulled off the exact same thing with one, I would say almost 1/100th the budget.
Yeah.
Like, again, under $1 million by today's standards, still under, right around $5 million. Right around $5 million is what the budget was in 1976 when they shot this. So,
but this is why it's so good, because he had to be creative and find ways.
Pollock is absolutely, I agree, hon. Pollock is a great character, Glenn, director. He's also a good actor. He appears in many films, and he's very dry. He was in one of Kubrick's films, Eyes Wide Shut. Kubrick uses only candles in one scene in Barry Lyndon, and that's true. He did do that, and it's clearly obvious, and it's similar to what they're doing here, because that's candlelight they shot with here. But every single scene where lights coming in through windows was artificially lit in Barry Lyndon. There's a great channel that does making of videos for many of these films, including this one, and they also did. This is that moment where she runs into him.
They meet again, and she thought he was dead.
So tragic.
And he didn't know that her husband died, so they exchange news and update each other. It's sad.
And he, of course, is being stoic here. And that's the problem with warriors. They tend to be stoic. It's a philosophy of the warrior. It's a philosophy that's sometimes before you become a warrior, they've already got that. And some just learn it from being at war, being trained for war. You don't want to show emotions or feelings.
He's also a leader. At this point, he's a captain.
Yep. And it's so funny because, one of the things that he and Tom Conti said is that if I can outrank him or if he outranks me, we're good. But they kept going up in rank almost at the same time.
I'm sorry, we jumped over the captain. That was after the third duel, when the general ordered him to not duel anymore with him. And this is, he's now a major.
Yep. And of course, Alan is in the scene again. Alan is a really good character in the film. And you'll notice that some characters just sort of disappear. And this is because they were killed in war. When you see one of the characters that you've been watching through, they don't show it on screen because we don't see any of the battles, but they aren't there anymore because they died. And they also had the great outbreak during the Napoleonic Wars of typhus.
Typhus, yeah. That's how her husband died.
That's right. That is what killed her husband.
Typhus, yeah. Just after they got married. So it wasn't a very long marriage. Yeah,
there's a great film out there, historical film called In the Age of Typhoid. And it's a beautiful film. I haven't seen it in a while. I'm going to write that down. I need to find that film again. I haven't seen it in years.
And here's the duel on horseback. And people are betting money now. It's an event.
Yeah, it's an event. Oh, this is the scene, though. This is where you see him starting to lose it. Because he's been in a lot of combat at this point.
6 years of war, man.
And he is on this horse now that he's cavalry, man. He has seen a lot of frontline combat. And as he's sitting there, he's having flashbacks. And his whole body is, you can't tell because we're using still photography here to show the film.
But
he is shaking all over his entire body. And what it leads to, and it happens almost off camera, even though you see it, you don't see it, that he struck what probably should have been a mortal blow on Keitel's character, and he doesn't stop. He does it, and then he just leaves, ending the duel.
Maybe he thinks at this point he killed him because there's a lot of blood.
Yes.
He cuts him across the forehead.
And this is the big scalp wound. He practically scalps him.
Yeah. Well,
it's a very stressful scene. The way that he shot it, and the music, it increases your stress levels watching it.
And the blood was so well done because.
And he's doing the flashbacks. Here's a flashback of that battle. He's flashback upon flashback, and he's had his fill.
To battles and duels both, because this is, I think, duel number 4.
Yeah. And of course, He rides off and jumps over, once again, the only wagon they could afford.
Yeah.
Every time you see a wagon, it's actually the same wagon. It's the same thing with the stage. They have a
And I
coach.
wouldn't have been able to tell if you hadn't pointed that out. Because I started looking for it. Yeah, it's the same. But they do it so cleverly. It's just, it works.
And so to show warfare in this, they show dead bodies.
It's 1812 now, so we're 12
Yeah,
years into
we're
this
we're
shit.
4 years from the end of the war, because it ended in 1816. Some of these men that you see standing are actually dead,
Yeah, frozen
in place.
solid. Yeah.
And so there's this. We don't have to see the battle. We see the cost of war in this film, and the kind of warfare they were seeing, and the locations again that they picked for this film are amazing.
Yeah, I think they are in between fights because they set off to patrol wood for Cossacks. So one battle is over and the next one, who knows?
Right.
But they run into each other in effing Russia. It's crazy.
You know, this is one of the largest continents.
It's almost a continent, yeah.
And they just cannot seem to avoid each other.
And they agree pistols next time.
Well, because of this scene, what's
Yeah.
about to happen. Because they're freezing. In fact, Dubert is suffering from frostbite, and it's
Yeah.
what gives him his limp. His limp is from this battle,
They
being
all
in these elements.
frostbite. You see one guy who's
And again, he volunteers to go with him to go collect wood for a fire.
No, they want to scout for Cossacks in the wood.
I thought he said to collect wood. I'll go with you.
And nobody volunteers, just he says.
Just Carradine.
So they set off together.
The bear. Or
Everybody
Hubert.
else just stays in camp. Dubert.
So he goes off with him here.
It's
And
so cold watching these scenes.
and they run into some Cossacks. They actually do run into him here at this wagon. But there's this moment before the Cossacks show up where they're facing each other with pistols.
Mm-hmm.
And you think, is this going to happen? And they're kind of looking at each other like, oh, are we going to kill each other? Keitel looks at him, and Carradine looks at Keitel, and there's that moment where it's like, oh shit, this is happening. See, his pistols are aimed at him, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And again, you know, it's like, oh, so this is how it's going to go. All right. And at this point, it would be a welcome to them because they're both freezing to death. But then the Cossack arrives. And they end up in a
ambush, so to speak.
Yeah, saved by the enemy.
Yeah.
So they have a shootout with their pistols and escape with their lives, killing, I think, 2 of them.
2 or 3.
Yeah, because they're both very efficient shooters. And that's what leads to the comment by Carradine. I guess pistols next time, huh?
Yeah.
And it really is an amazing scene. He finds food. And I pointed out to you that because of a failure on Napoleon created, or paid to have created, canning. Canning was created during the Napoleonic Wars because he knew the military traveled on its stomach. So he had all this food canned, but the metal was tainted. And the food was bad. And so they began starving. His soldiers were starving out in the field. And they began eating leather from shoes and from their gear, trying to stay alive. And there he is standing over that dead Cossack, just looking at him. The Prussian War. Just sitting there dead.
Yeah.
And it's a somber moment, and then life is happening.
Yes. 2 years later in Tours. He's living with his sister now and her kids. Dubert.
Yep. For him, in many ways, the war is over. He's now an armchair warrior. His injury from...
She's pestering him to finally marry.
Yes, I love that. The interfering sister. And he falls in love with a younger woman here. Imagine that. Old warriors falling in love with younger women.
Yeah, well, they are expected to.
I just don't think that happens in life.
Idiot.
Uh,
It's a setup marriage. They both kind of are expected to do that, but they don't mind. They like each other.
And he even admits that he's fallen in love with her.
Yeah.
That is not her. That is his sister.
That's his sister, yeah. They go out with horses, and he actually drops down on one knee and asks her. He really proposes. But,
and again, pointing out that the injury he suffers is from frostbite. They never explain it, but that's what happened. Is he had severe frostbite. And some of his digits in foot became gangrenous.
That sounds unpleasant.
It is very unpleasant. And I love the locations used in this film, just beautiful locations. And I love the way he always picked the magic hour. Notice that the sun's always low.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
On the horizon. Again, Ridley Scott making decisions, not the director of photography, him. He hires DPs, but he sets up every shot in his films. This is something that was complained about with Blade Runner. It led to a lot of conflict between him and the crew. It led to a T-shirt being worn by the crew. Yes, Gov, was what was on the T-shirts worn by the crew because he was God. And he says, "What I say goes," and they didn't like that. They were union. He wasn't used to working with union. And I'm sure Glenn Fleming knows a little bit about that story because he's like me, one of those guys, cinephiles that.
Yeah, tell us.
This is her father, by the way.
A shoemaker, yeah.
He's a shoemaker, tinkerer. He likes to make things. I love these houses.
Yeah.
And again, throughout the film, always side lit in the rooms, light coming through the windows. There's never heavy lighting interior, which is a complaint I have in filmmaking when people overlight the backgrounds. Backgrounds should be slightly darker than what you're looking at, what you're supposed to be focusing on to make them stand out. And through this, they use a lot of shadow to create that. Again, they use the same coach throughout the film. They just dress it differently.
It's so clever.
It is. It's very clever. When you have no budget, if you want to make a good film, you have to be very clever. Now you pull it off.
The frog. That was a bit gross.
Yeah, well, I thought it was cute because I used to play with frogs as a kid.
I can't touch them.
And here he is. He's finally, for the first time in his life, being romantic. He's trying to keep up with the kids, and his legs like, no.
Yeah. And she kind of wants to go back to him, but he shoos her away. He's like, "I'm fine. You go. I'll be there."
And by the way, when I talk about Kubrick, Glenn, I'm not shitting on Kubrick at all. I think he's brilliant. I really do. I just think that this film is a better film than Ryan's film. Yes, he does it.
Because
and I love the horses. The horses are misbehaving in this scene too.
Oh yeah.
Which makes it even more funny. What happens? Because they're smooching. They're wanting to smooch the horses.
Yeah.
And he's trying to control his horse. Yeah, he's trying to. He's actually, in real life, Carradine's a horseman. And so he was really doing a good job of controlling his horse here. Acting while controlling his horse.
That horse was naughty. There, see?
And there look at her. It's such a cool scene. Romantic.
Oh, yeah. Very.
And he has dared. He has dared to think about the future.
his sister helped him reach that decision because he was like, yeah, I'm old, she's young, she shouldn't have to do this. But his sister helps him
He
come
wants
to
to
the
be
conclusion
that
that
old warrior.
it's time that my life belongs to me now.
Well, as it's said, historically said, old warriors never die, they just fade away. And that's what he wants to do. He just wants to fade away. But his sister is so in his business, and she won't let that happen. And so he opens himself up to happiness. And he thinks that
1 minute until we have to do a break. I just noticed. I'm sorry.
That's all right. We can go ahead and do it. Martin, are you even here? I don't even know if Martin's here.
I think it's just the two of us today.
No, I am not here.
Okay. Let's go ahead and do the commercial break, and we'll come back and finish this scene. Hi guys, this is Gerry from Pop Culture Minefield here on KGRA, and we're leaving for our first break. I hope we survive.
A birthday without her mom, an anniversary without her husband, her wedding day without her dad. These are the days when military families feel it most of all. The loss of their soldier, their sailor, their airman, their Marine, their Coast Guardsman. Families never forget their loved ones lost to war or illness or suicide. Families never forget, and neither do we. We are TAPS, the Tragedy Assistance Program for Survivors. We provide resources, support, and comfort to heal the hearts and meet the needs of grieving military families, all at no cost to them. Your generosity can make an enormous difference in the lives of the families of our fallen military heroes. Our military families need to know they are not alone and they are not forgotten. Show them your support at taps.org.
Are we alone in the universe? The most important question facing humanity is on the verge of being settled once and for all. Mutual UFO Network has been at the forefront of this journey for nearly 50 years. Our members worldwide are dedicated to the research, documentation, and awareness that will shape the future of humanity. Won't you join us?
Hey members, the new KGRA DB app is now available on iOS and Android devices. Gain on-demand access to any KGRA DB programming. Download any show directly to your mobile device to listen or watch on the go. Go to the App Store and search KGRA DB.
Oh wow, we survived! Welcome back from the commercial break. Now for some more Pop Culture Minefield on KGRA. Oh my gosh.
No more bouncing to the MUFON clip, so sad.
I guess I got to cut that because nobody's going to stop the video. So anyway, back to the film. We've got, again, the bear is finding happiness in his life. And here we see Edward Fox's character, who is absolutely an imperialist.
And he wants him to continue in the military. And he also lets him know that Ferro is talking shit about him.
And he, I believe he clearly sides with Ferro.
Oh, he does. He does. And he goes straight to him.
So he's an antagonist in the story. He's not a friend to our protagonist.
Oh, no. He's setting up the next duel. That's what he's doing.
Yep. Because he's always got his agents out there working him, bullying him.
But he's moving on. He's getting married now.
And he doesn't like that. Keitel doesn't like that. I should be a priority to him, is what he thinks. His character demands his attention. He's an attention seeker. Yes.
And you see him go crazy. He's not taking care of himself. Dubert, he looks so good for his age, and the other guy just...
Once again, his number 2 is not there anymore because he was killed in the war.
Yeah.
He's not in those scenes when they're in the frost of Prussia because he was dead, killed during war. So now he's using Edward Fox's character to get what he wants.
He's a bully, using people.
And
they toast to Louis the 18th.
Because at this point,
they're monarchists.
The war, it's 2016. 1816 now. Napoleon has been imprisoned by the British, and the royal family has returned. And so her father, is his wife's father, now bride, is a loyalist to the crown. So therefore, they're celebrating that. And this is where some of the characters believe that Dubert is a turncoat. Because all of them, Keitel, Edward Fox's careers are over because they were loyal to Napoleon. Whereas he is just loyal to France. He's a loyalist to the country. I wouldn't even call him loyal to the crown. He's loyal to the country. He's loyal to France.
Whereas Ferrot is...
And this is where he runs into... There's Edward Fox, his career over. He's begging on the street, homeless.
And he's telling him that Ferrot is arrested, waiting for trial. His life is over.
Yeah. In fact, it expects him to be executed.
Yeah, he has to go before the special commission. And instead of just moving on with his life, Dubert does a very stupid thing and goes and gets him off the list.
Because he's a man of honor.
Yeah, but I was like, dude,
and from the books, like I said, in the original... hold on. From the original story, you would better understand it. Because they had struck up a kinship. Not a friendship, but a kinship in real life.
But it's missing.
And he could not allow a man that even though he didn't agree with him, saw him as a man of honor. So therefore, he felt loyal to that honor. And side lit again. Look at that lighting. And
there he goes to get his name off the list.
Candle lighting.
Oh yeah, it's beautiful.
Side lighting. I love the way that he lit this film, man. I really do. But I got to tell you, if he had just let him face his life, it would have been different. Here's Albert Finney in his scene. I love Albert Finney. What a great actor right here. Oscar-winning actor. Major coup getting him to play this character. And he, of course, is what would be equivalent of a judge advocate, I guess. He's the one that he has to go to get him off. And
he's the chief of that commission.
Yep. So he's telling him, please spare him.
And he agrees to it. Only Dubert makes a point, though. He tells him,
you must never know.
I do not want him to know that I am behind this. Because he gets sent away. He has to live in the countryside under police supervision, but he has his life. But he's not to find out who is behind this, whom he owes his life to.
And I'm still so smitten with this scene, the way it was lit. It's so beautifully lit all the time. All this soft lighting by use of curtains, which helps spread the light. But because it is direct sunlight, therefore it has the side shading on everything. It's just gorgeous. The colors in these scenes.
I also like the dialogue in this one because he tells him you cross it off the list. I can't do everything here.
Yeah, I can't do everything for you.
Yeah, he has to cross him off himself. That was fun moment. There he goes.
Oh man.
Name is off.
If you've never seen this film, I highly recommend watching this film. It is, again, it's a masterpiece. Even if you don't find it interesting, you've gained something by watching this film. You've learned something about how cinema should be made. And there he is, a free man now.
But
Still
his
wearing
career's
his
gone.
military style hat, Napoleonic hat.
But his
Sits down
career's
in an
over,
outdoor
and
cafe.
He has no life. So all he's doing is sitting in cafes drinking.
Yep.
And that, of course, is when he hears another
He'll have
guy-
no career.
Yeah.
If he has a trade, he could try to make money off of that. Whereas De Beer is not an idiot. He has a wonderful home,
And a
child on the way. He's finally got this life, and he's found happiness. Sadly, we never find out. We never find out what happened to the other woman, but it doesn't matter.
No, it doesn't. Sad as it is.
It's just another chapter in his life. This is the new chapter, and he's finally found happiness, and he's got something to look forward into his old age. And he's
Although they don't
given
agree
into
if
it.
it's a boy or a girl, because she says, "Yeah, kicks like a soldier," and he has his hand on her belly, and he's like, "Nah, that's a girl."
And he, of course, has opened himself up to this. But once again, this son of a bitch refuses to let go of him because he holds that grudge. So off on a morning walk, De Beer with his hound, walking his grounds, happens upon two men looking for him.
They're looking for him because another guy in that cafe was reading out news about him. So
this is his number 2 now.
He knew how to find him.
Thoreau's number 2. He's telling him that he wants to meet him for a duel, and he gets angry. This is the first time you see him actively get angry about it. Because I'm happy now. And he is so angry that he's like, this is the end of this. If I have to die, I want this out of my life. I want to stop having to deal with this. And this guy's a cocky shit, snot, what are you going to call him?
Give him all the names. He's just...
And it's an intense moment. Even though they have very placid expressions, there is so much tension in this scene. Because you see De Beer's character is resolved. It's the first time in the film you see him resolved, where he's acceptive of whatever happens. Go on. Go get your man. Let's end this.
Yeah, he's had it.
Absolutely fed up.
Like,
done.
How many? 6 duels? That's enough.
It's ridiculous. And he's tired of it. He's tired of dealing with the character. He did him a favor, a kindness, and refused, to give his name because he wanted to be done with it.
But of course, the guy has to find out where
he lies.
He lives now.
Then he lies to her that he's going to go out for a walk, gets his pistols together.
Lies to her father, too.
Mm-hmm. Grabs the 2 oranges.
Yeah.
Eats one of them. I love that scene where he's just sitting there waiting for the fight, eating an orange.
Yeah.
Scurvy was another disease that was popular at the time. Typhus, scurvy, during the Napoleonic, dysentery, diphtheria were all diseases of the period. And, this could very well, he knows, could be the last time he gets to speak to his father-in-law. And it's a nice moment.
He's so calm because he's at peace.
He's resolved. He's
Whatever's
completely
going to happen
resolved.
It's going to be the end.
Yep, at least this is over. I'm done. One of his is not walking away from this, is really what he's thinking. And just like
how he survives this, because he is calm and the other guy is just, he's agitated. He is I don't know. He has his feelings in this, and that's why he's
Oh,
not as
Dragon
calm
Ruse
as
is
he needs
here.
to be.
Morning, Dragon.
Hi, Dragon Ruse.
Eddie told Saggy he edited the FNT video clip. There he is, eating that orange, just relaxed, chilling.
Waiting for the guys to come.
Yeah. FNT clip and still showed Gavin's. Oh.
What?
French. Monkey. I'm not reading that.
No.
Again, beautiful locations.
And the
There
way
he
they set
is.
up this duel, you know it's going to be the last duel they're fighting.
He says,
because
do you have a second? He goes, I don't need a second. Let's go.
They agreed to enter the area, one from the west, one from the east.
That's right.
2
One from
shots
the east,
each.
and they have to find each other.
They hunt each other now.
This is a hunt to the death. And which is, as I recall in the book and in historical, that is what they did.
Is it really? Wow.
I do believe that's what they did. I'm going to go double check later, but I'm, either way it goes, I love that it's in the book and it is in the film. And then they go off in their individual directions in order to circle back around and find one another. And this smug prick. Both of them. I couldn't stand these guys. And it's such beautiful scenery, the mist. And this is something that Ridley Scott is in love with. And you'll find it in every film he does. Atmosphere. He loves atmosphere, even if he has to generate it. And you never know with this film what's natural in the shot with the mist and what was created through machine. And he's been doing that his entire career. To create texture for the film, he creates atmosphere. Legend.
It's early morning, so it could
Blade
be
Runner.
breakfast.
Smoke is used a lot, and debris in the air, floating debris in Legend. In this, I don't know if it's fog or smoke. You just don't know. In fact, in that shot, you can see fog right there in that shot, right center screen, fog coming up over the wall. And I'm like, that immediately struck me as artificial.
Oh, that's so beautiful. It's such a beautiful morning, and they are hunting each other.
Yeah, just the locations that this film was shot on, just gorgeous. And in this moment, that's about to happen, Thoreau has the bear. He really does. It should have been his win.
Yeah, but he is not calm.
That's the big difference. He's agitated. Whereas
That's why he misses him.
the bear is not. He's very just in the moment. He's just in the moment. And here it is. This is a just intense moment of them when they finally come together here. And the first shot rings out.
And misses him, right?
I'm not saying. It's, I love also the kudzu, the ivy that grows over everything. And by the way, both men are experts with guns in real life. But Harvey Keitel is also a U.S. Marine Corps veteran, Vietnam.
I didn't know that.
There, he fires a shot, and DeBear goes down. DeBear, I don't know if he was struck by the round or hit his head on when he went down to avoid being shot. And his foot is twitching. And he comes up over and fires his last shot. Each of them have 2 shots. Mm-hmm. And DeBear still has his shot.
Yes.
So Keitel, in defiance, clicks his weapon and goes, la la, and throws his arms up. It's, have your way with me. It is the end.
And it's so intelligently done because he tells him, kill me, kill me. And the next...
Kill me. And you see it here. Kill me. He yells it in the first fight. and it
But then
echoes, and
it
then
cuts to this, and he comes out of it, and you don't know. Did he
and his
or did he not?
and exactly, and Fro's number 2 or number 3 is like, did you kill him? Is he still alive? And he won't answer him, and he takes off running to find him. And then we cut back to his father-in-law sleeping.
Yeah, awake at all times, asleep
And then
at all
he comes
times.
into the house, and sees him sleeping, and then he goes finds his wife.
And
I
she
love
notices
that.
the bag that he has where the guns are wrapped in, but he pulls out an orange
He pulls out an orange.
when she asks what's in there. Because she wants to know where he was, and he tells her, I just took a walk.
Went for a walk.
Yeah. She's a
She
good,
would have,
she
and
doesn't
then we
buy it
cut,
first, and then the orange.
and they kiss, and that's the end of that story. And now we see the end of Thoreau's story, Keitel's character's story. And he's just walking along this path, contemplating his future as we hear the dialogue that was delivered moments ago by Carradine, telling him that from this point forward, I own your life. You're dead to me.
I order you to act as a dead person.
Yep.
So cool.
And so he must leave him alone now. Leave him to his life because he won. And this has been his life, almost 30 years.
Yeah.
And he walks up to this hill, and this is that moment I told you about. No effects were done here. This wasn't planned.
It's giving me
He stands up on this hill, and Ridley's giving him verbal direction to turn. And so he turns towards this light because they saw what was about to happen. And they wanted to get this in camera. The actual natural lens flare of the sun coming out from behind these clouds. Absolute serendipity. And look at the lighting in this scene. Pure on-the-spot direction. Improvisational direction.
It's the first time I see this scene, and it still gives me goosebumps. It's so perfect.
And in many ways, it even says that maybe there's a glimmer of hope for this man, that he has something else to live for now.
Yeah, but his eyes are dead. He's a broken man.
And that's the end. It's absolutely top 5 favorite film of all time. Shut up, monkey. Did JJ direct this?
I have to say, going through the movie like we just did on the show made me like it more. It really did. Because that way I did get into the characters. Just watching it, I sort of couldn't really. But...
Yeah, you get that one lens flare, and he's joking. Did JJ direct it?
F you, Jules.
But you know,
we're F-bomb free, aren't we?
I don't know. I don't think I've
I just said F twice, but I didn't say the actual bomb.
Yeah, with your accent, YouTube might not catch it.
Jerk. You can't help it, huh?
Yeah, but I'm also being honest. They may not catch that you cussed because YouTube might not be trained to recognize foreign accents when they say dirty American words. So that'll be a good thing, I think.
I don't think my accent is that strong.
Look out! That was naughty.
I'm going to watch that movie again. I do love that film. So that's the end of the film. Anybody got any thoughts on it?
Well, I told you my issue was that I couldn't connect to the characters really, and it's two guys who keep running into each other and have to have this duel. And watching it the first time, I was like, "You're being stupid. Just get over with the stupid honor thing." But I get it more now that we dissected it. That always helps me, you know that when I'm having problems with the movie, that way I'm solving some of them.
It's not really my cup of tea. I'm not really big on the whole Napoleonic era. I do get I can see the cinematography of it and how beautiful it's shot. But I don't really feel for the characters, if that makes sense.
And that was my issue too. That
Well,
you don't get the
here's
French
the
feeling
problem.
of it. Not really.
It probably takes somebody that's stoic to understand and like stoicism. And stoicism, this whole film is about stoicism and honor. And it's really a warrior's film. And it's probably why I love it so much, because I'm a warrior and I'm very stoic. And I admire films like that. And I also like period pieces. But when you break it down, when you watch a film, you have to remove all the elements and look at what you're really looking at. And once again, what you're looking here is man versus their nature. So it's man versus human nature. And that's all it is. It's no longer a Napoleonic War film. It's no longer a period piece. It's simply a story about one person versus another person, while also those characters versus human nature. And you can't nitpick that.
I would never consider this a war movie just because it's about soldiers.
It's really not. It's a background thing. It's not really it. The Napoleonic period is a background thing, really. As beautiful it is with the costumes and all that, it being a period piece is, again, not the story. The story is by itself, could take place at any time, involving people with grudges.
Yeah.
You can translate it to anything. So I'm not saying it's a weak argument, John. I'm not. I'm just saying that's how you need to dissect things like this in order to get past whatever hiccup you have with a film, is get past what it is that you're not enjoying about it and start breaking it down as to what it is, to then look at it and go, oh, now I get what's going on here. Let me go back and look at that again, and maybe I'll find something to appreciate. Or maybe that's just a theme you're not interested in. That's okay. I absolutely, it's one of my favorite themes in storytelling is man versus man, or human versus human, and human versus human nature. Fighting the desire to survive, to go against your survival instinct. You see his survival instinct in the film, that he doesn't want to duel him. That is constant throughout the story. Yeah. I don't want to face this guy, but I'm a man of honor and I have to go do this.
It gets worse as he sees more combat too.
Well, and then when
on the horse, when he's shaking, actually.
And the most painful aspect of it is finally at the end, when the war is over. Everything is over. He is now at the sojourning part of his life. When he's at peace, he's a warrior at peace, and he's allowing happiness into his life, and it rears its ugly head again. And he becomes so embittered and angry about it that he would rather go and die than to ever deal with it ever again. And when you look at it that way, it's no longer a Napoleonic film. It's no longer a war film. It is absolutely somebody that's just sick of something. And just, you see it at the end of Tombstone. Really, when you see Wyatt, I love the scene where Wyatt's talking with Doc, and Doc's acting sicker than he really is. He says, I can't beat him, can I? What drives a man like that? And he goes, he's got a hole in him that can never be filled, Doc tells him. And Wyatt knows he can't beat him in a gunfight. He's not that good. And to confront Johnny Ringo. So Doc tricks him, taking off before he does. Shortcut. I don't know how he did it. Mysteries of movies. But he shows up in his stead before Wyatt even gets there. Meets up with Johnny Ringo and has some of the best dialogue in the history of Western cinema. My fight's not with you. I beg to differ. We started to dance. Oh, I was just funning. I wasn't playing for blood, right? All right.
Watch that one?
No, you haven't watched that with me.
Ah.
Playing for
haven't shown her
blood.
Tombstone?
Yeah, she's not watching. I've given her a great baptism in cinema, and it's going to be an ongoing thing with her because I've got to introduce her to some of the best films ever made.
You guys
And
keep forgetting I grew up with music and with books and very, very little film. I got into that in my mid-20s, so not that long ago. I have a lot of catching up to do. I'm aware of that.
and not poking fun at you. I'm actually, I'm happy to be doing this, to be showing you these things because I get to experience it. We watched something last night, and I get really emotional when we watch some of these things, and I have to be quiet because there's a scene last night. What was the movie? What did we watch last night? Conan. Absolutely, I get emotional
My first
in that
watch
movie
of Conan
when
ever.
when she gets killed, when Valeria gets killed and dies. I get really emotional in that scene. I also get emotional in the scene where she's facing the demons to keep him alive. Well,
Yeah.
Mako's character, the wizard, hides. He runs along. Demons.
I had a lot of fun last night watching
It
that
is
one.
such a fun movie. And
I keep to it. The best scenes are when Arnold is just acting and not talking.
well, the thing is that it's not just because, it's a strong suit for Arnold, but the fact is that's Conan. Conan, if you give Conan too many lines, it gets goofy. And
Because
Conan
he's
shouldn't be
so
talking a lot.
funny.
And you think so, but I don't agree. I like Arnold's accent. I don't care. You're prejudiced because, he's from a rural area of Austria. He's a hillbilly. Could you imagine? Look, I make fun of hillbilly. Hey, how y'all doing? Yeah, it's like, I don't like hillbilly accent, but I don't hate hillbillies.
I keep hearing this Styrian dialect when he speaks English, and it's just it doesn't sound pretty to me. It sounds
I get it.
weird.
You're prejudiced. And so I'm not. I happen to love Arnold's accent. I love the way. The thing that I find funny is the way he yells.
Oh God!
And he does it in the movie so many times, and I giggle every time he does it. I love it. It's endearing, though, with him. I find it very endearing. But he when he's on top, when he's all wrapped and they drew all over his face, and that scene, I get emotional in that scene. I also get emotional when he's confronting Thulsa after he's been beaten. I get emotional in that, and I also get emotional when he takes charge of that orgy scene and dumps that pot of human pea soup.
That's just so gross.
The girl grabs a bowl and grabs the hand of it, and the finger nibbling on a finger.
What really grossed me out though,
Peek up over the corner too. Gerry Lopez as Subutai, and Sandal Bergman as Valeria, and Conan put their heads up over that thing to see the orgy, and the look on Gerry Lopez's face, and then Valeria's like, "Oh," it's like they're all like, do we really have to fight and kill some of these people? This is sad. They're having fun. It's a funny moment. And it led to the question I still ask this day with Conan is, was Thulsa Doom a snake who took on the form of a man, or a man who took on the form of a snake in that scene? And it's always because his eyes change. He is clearly a master of some form of black magic because his eye colors changes whenever he goes hypnotic, hypnotize someone. They go blue.
Not only that, he has a natural amount of time alive.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. There you go. There you go, Monkey Jeeves. That's what I make fun of her for. That's what I make fun of her for, right there.
Yeah, fuck you, Jeeves. I don't have an inner German.
Oh, first bomb.
Yeah, and I don't care. He deserves that.
Is Joe here? I saw his name mentioned. I don't see him. I see Che is here. Morning, Che.
Well,
why was Joe's name mentioned?
You were talking about the atmosphere in the scene where they go hunt each other. The atmospheric shots with the fog and stuff, and she was just threw that in.
Ah,
because you said atmosphere.
atmospheres. That's what it
It's
was.
just,
Okay.
It's Jeebus. It's
Gotcha.
Jeebus.
No, Jeebus does a
No,
good job
it was
of doing
Penny.
that connect. Penny said it?
Yeah.
I see
it
Joe's
was,
atmosphere
No.
mentioned
it
by
was
Monkey.
Monkey.
No.
It's Monkey.
Oh.
Penny was
Yep.
asking why Don isn't here, but Don is not a regular on Mondays. He just
In the
pops
books,
in.
he's from Atlantis. No, you were right, Jeebus. He is. In the books, he was. And I like, though, Melius, what he did is he picked and chose, because what's really funny is the book that got me reading Conan the Barbarian is the book The Usurper. And it's the first time I think they mentioned, is it Aquilonia? The first mention of Aquilonia? Isn't
So
it
that
one of
sounds
the...
right.
Yeah, I mean, I saw the word and I'm like, what's Stygian? What is it? What are
Yeah.
these words? You know, all these words in Conan. It was the first book I picked up because Frank Frazetta. That painting of Conan chained, standing in a snake going between his legs and coming back around with its head, had this huge impact on me. That painting was amazing. Again, what got me to read Tarzan was Edgar Rice Burroughs' books, was Frank Frazetta's Tarzan artwork on the cover.
You showed me a lot of artwork yesterday. Yeah.
Yeah, I was trying to show you Frank Frazetta. I was making fun of Boris Vallejo because Boris Vallejo just annoys me as an artist. I know a lot of people like
poses,
him.
Right?
I said, all he does is he shows people posing. They're always posing. There's no action in his paintings. They're just dead. There's no energy in them. Turn and look at a Frazetta painting. You got people off balance, a leg not seen. And that was one of the first rules of drawing. When you see me draw action in my comics, I always make sure that they're off balance in the action scene slightly to show the action, because Frazetta taught me that. Yes, he is a Kroll. Kull. He meant Kull. Kull the Conqueror. Kull is considered by many to be the father of Conan, even though Conan does have a father. Kull is considered to be the father of Conan because he came before Conan. It was his first step into that kind of world.
Yeah, phrasing.
What is that? Dead. Keto's here. How you doing, Dustin? But the books, really got me into it when I finally saw in 80. It was sometime in 81. Starlog had posted an article about Conan the Barbarian in production with John Milius at the head. And all of us were excited about it because we knew who Milius was. Milius was the guy who wrote Apocalypse Now. We knew who he was. We're like, oh my gosh, that dude? Really? I'm doing pretty good, Gerry. Doing really well, buddy. Hope you're doing well. By the way, I got to tell you, Keto, I really like Kodiak pancake mix. If you've never tried it, give it a try. It is a keto pancake mix, and it's really good. I do like that. It's very yummy. What I end up doing occasionally is I'll add a tablespoon of flour when I'm going to make pancakes to it, and a quarter teaspoon of baking powder, flour and baking powder to it, to really kind of enhance the fluffiness of it. But to be honest with you, I've made it by itself. It's still really good. But I don't do the water thing. I use almond milk and egg.
You should do a cooking show, the two of you.
We've talked about it, Anima. Keto and I have talked about doing something together every once in a while because we're both, Keto's simple. He's all into the keto lifestyle, and I agree with him. I love it.
Every time he shows up in chat, this turns into a cooking show.
Well, the Kodiak, the one that I've got, is keto. It's in the keto diet. It's almond flour, and it's really good. Highly recommend it. Because I got to tell you, I love pancakes, and being able to make pancakes, even if it's keto, and there are ways of still making it taste good. I add either agave or Splenda to it. I also add vanilla extract to it when I make my pancake batter. So there's a lot of flavor. I want flavor. I have a pantry full of stuff we never use. Not me, man. Everything. I use everything. I have a rule. I don't keep anything I don't want to use. So hopefully we won't run into that trouble, Anima and I, when we're living together, because marriage can create that environment. You'll have a pantry full of stuff you never use.
I only buy stuff that I'm going to use in the first place.
And yes, you're right, Monkey Jeebus. It's Gerry. That's something that got started over on Toxic Tuesday. I can hardly wait till I get my Tuesdays free again so I can do Toxic Tuesday. God, I miss doing that show. But no, Keto and I talked previously about doing a keto show. Just every once in a while, just do something on a specific dish. So. Like he should bring a dish and I bring a dish and we talk about it the entire hour to 2 hours. We talk about first half, this item, what did you bring? And we'd rotate who goes first. I think it'd be fun. Maybe once a month, once every 2 months, some shit like that. Just something fun to do.
Watch that.
Because I love, anybody who knows me personally knows I love cooking. I went to chef school. I was studying at a restaurant called Le Petit Auberge, which still exists in Fredericksburg, Virginia, downtown Fredericksburg. And the chef at the time, unbeknownst to me, was very gay and apparently dug me and made a move on me in the kitchen. And I freaked out. And I didn't get violent, but I did freak out. And I'm like, hey, oh no. And I said, I gotta go. And I took my apron off and my hat and I left and I never went back. It scared the shit out of me.
It is scary.
Dustin Dish and Gerry.
What?
I do like that. Gerry and Dustin Dish and Chill. I like it. It's a good title. Don't forget that, man. Right? Somebody write that down. That is a really good title. I would really love to do something like that, Dustin. It would be a lot of fun. And I like hanging out with him because I met him because of Toxic Tuesday, and I've met a lot of cool dudes. Brian, because of Toxic Tuesday, and I love Brian. Major coup getting him to take over Tuesdays because he's got it, man. He's got that thing that you want. Chase says, I feel annoyed now. Kathleen Kennedy for not bringing in short round for Indy 4 and now 5 because of what happened last night during the Oscars. I didn't watch the Oscars. I refuse to watch. I haven't watched in 16 years, I think. The last time I watched one. 2000 and...
I didn't watch, but
basically
7. Harrison Ford gave...
I heard he gave the Oscar and hugged him, but is that it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I heard it's a very emotional moment. I never dropped the butter, my friend.
It's the wrong time for me anyway over here.
Oh, you're going to be on with Brian tomorrow? Fantastic, man. That'll be cool. I because it's art day. Tuesdays and Thursdays are art day, along with really Saturday and Sunday. I try to break in as much as I can get in those days. But Tuesday and Thursdays are my days committed to doing artwork. On Thursdays, that's when I schedule my doctor appointments. If I have to go see the doctor, because it's the only day I really have a whole day free. But that's cool. You're going to be hanging out with him tomorrow.
Yeah, he's doing John Wick, right?
Yeah, John Wick chapters 1 through 3.
Yeah, I'm already talked out on John Wick. We did our own John Wick show on a Saturday for Bill. When does Bill come back, Martin? Has he said which day?
No, he hasn't said anything. Not to me,
I'm
at least.
curious because
it's a long way from the playlist back to Earth.
Oh, hey, I just got a message from Don. He just sent me a copy of his Vicious Vinyl show. I'm downloading it now.
Cool.
I'm going to be listening to that. But it's going to be fun tomorrow. I like what Brian's doing. We're also this Friday, to let you guys know in advance, the second half of the show is going to be all about a gentleman by the name of Ryan Smith. He's right here in Springfield, Missouri, filmmaker, and he made a little film that's it's a musical comedy horror film. And I watched the trailers. I was blown away how good the trailers were. I'm like, and both trailers are examples of the musical aspects and the comedy, but one's dark and the other one's kind of lighthearted. And I'm like, wow, and he and I talked for 3 hours the other night. And it was what?
Capitino has a comment for you that is dark and lighthearted at the same time.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, ew. Shut up, Che. Ew. You army guys are cavalry. I got to tell you, man, I respect Che. Good dude. Apparently, I hear he's really short, though. Is your nickname Short Round? Does anybody on this
short people again?
Does anybody know what that means?
No. You care to enlighten us?
A short round is a round that, as I recall, goes off early. It's a defective cartridge. Basically, it's a defective round. It's called, oh man, he had a short round.
Okay.
So that's it. And that's where the character gets his name in Indiana Jones, Short Round. He's saying he's defective. But with that nickname.
With being short.
Because in the film, you think it's because he's short. But the fact is the meaning of Short Round is very specific meaning of being in a defective bullet round. It's not just the bullet itself, it's the casing and the powder. So there you go. Goes off early. I'm not going off, man. I'm not going off, I swear. But anything else we want to talk about this movie? Anything dealing with Ridley Scott?
Well, I haven't seen the movie yet. I only have seen the partial review of that we did some weeks ago, and now this review. I have to watch it because it's not the same with a slideshow than seeing the.
No, it's not.
Oh yeah, you miss out on a lot of things.
Yeah, you I have to see the pacing, but I'm afraid that I may be overhyped. I hope not. I'll try to watch it today.
All right, Dustin. See you later.
Oh, bye, kiddo.
Bye.
I have my expectation, and as a side note, Keith Carradine. Oh man, Joel Kinnaman reminds me so much of him.
Who?
Joel Kinnaman.
He really does kind of have the same mannerisms and facial expressions. Very similar facial structure. Yeah, I get that.
And
I just really wish they would have kept the letter thing in the movie. It would have made more sense.
Well, I think that Ridley understood that film is different than literature. And it's kind of hard to find the drama when they strike up penmanship with each other. It's hard to find that drama. You get the starkness of that isolation when they're not talking to each other as part of it. I think they could have had, the narration could easily they could have kept the writing in there, at least on one person's part or both person's part in between scenes, not writing each other, but writing letters to someone else and doing the narration that way. But it still works. Structurally, they're different animals filming.
Better, I think.
Well,
had there been something
read the book. Just read the book, The Duel by Joseph Conrad, one of the greatest writers in the history of writing. Conrad's amazing. He wrote Heart of Darkness, which, I saw Apocalypse Now, and it led to me reading the book. And I found the book not as exciting as the movie, but I found it more compelling because you understood the characters better. And so there you go.
I'll see if I can find it.
What's that?
I'll see if I can find the book.
But once again, Harvey Keitel is one of those people. And by the way, when you hear Don Ecker talk about bringing the draft back, Harvey Keitel is also one of those people that has said that we need to bring it back. Mandatory service, whether it's military. This is where I stand. I don't care if it's military. It needs to be something. You need to serve something.
For male only. So.
No, they need it for both men and women. Everybody needs to do something.
Now that you're saying that, it reminds me that Robert Heinlein has been so misquoted because on Starship.
Imagine that, the left misquoting a conservative.
Hamlin, when Hamlin says in his book Starship Trooper that service guarantees citizenship, he's not talking about only military service. There are various branches. The only thing was that
and that's where I learned that from.
Were more expedited, but you could do civil service.
Serving your country in any form.
Because not everybody is made for the military, so there needs to be a plan B for those people. You can't force just everybody into being a soldier.
Hey, look at this. Which one is it? Che?
Oh, there's a Russian version. Oh,
well, there's Duelist with 1 L, and then there's the Duelist with 2.
Yeah, and it's based on the book The Duel. And even though they call it the duel lasted almost 30 years. And that's why it's called because it's a single duel. Having to be fought over and over and over again.
I will
finish.
I would have looked for that motherfucker in the street and boom. I'm not living 25 years with that shit.
Yeah, it's like, let's get it over with. Let's get this shit over with. But here, I was going to share this with you right here. There he is, 18 years old, enlisted in the Marine Corps. He left home at 16 and joined and lied about his age. But once it was found out he wasn't allowed to serve in combat, and he served in Beirut and not Vietnam, Beirut. And he absolutely served all the way 4 years. And I respect that guy, gutsy dude, and he's a great actor. He's insane.
Yeah, he does such a great job playing this insane psychopath.
Because there's an intensity to him in real life, man. Yeah, he's a very intense person, and he puts everything into the screen. When he plays the cleaner in Pulp Fiction, it's one of my favorite moments of him on screen.
Yeah, the wolf.
Yeah,
the wolf, and the wolf is a cleaner, and his job is to clean up crime scenes. And when he's hosing Sam Jackson and Travolta down.
Man, I love him in Taxi Driver.
It's the pen.
Yeah.
Very intense character. I think one of the funniest, but also it's a good film. Don't get me wrong. But it's weird. The Last Temptation of Christ. I saw that film. I went to see it, but I laughed inappropriately at the film because I thought it was weird that Jesus and Judas both were clearly from New York.
Right.
Judas is like, Jesus, what are you doing? Hey. Harvey Keitel with that thick Brooklyn accent as Judas Iscariot. He's brilliant in the part. And it's an essential character because that's the one thing that really, in my opinion, it really touched on, is that the last temptation of Jesus was when he was on the cross before he died. And that the devil came to him again and said, I can take all this away from you. You've done what you needed to do. And God is satisfied and lies to him. and tricks him into believing. And so he gets to live a lifetime in a millisecond where he marries Mary Magdalene. They have children. But in the process, because of not dying on the cross, the world is destroyed. And Judas, and I've always said this, even in my Catholic studies, that Judas was essential, because if he doesn't do what he did, then nothing would have happened. Jesus would have never been crucified.
True.
And I'm talking the historical ramifications, because I know I'm an agnostic, but I still believe in historical characters from the Bible. I believe they're real. And Judas's betrayal was essential.
Yes.
And if it hadn't happened, what good came of that would never have happened. So, that he was damned for what he did, it's bullshit. I don't believe that for a second. And most of the priests I've been close to in my life and ministers all agree that Judas, because of the essential nature of what he had to do, wasn't damned. Like it says, so many people teach that he was damned, he hanged himself, blah, blah, blah. And I don't believe he hanged himself. I believe that was a story that was told in order to protect him. Well, I believe that he survived.
And
they show that in the film that he survived.
In one of the Evangelions, in one of the Gospels.
Well, there's the Gospel of Judas.
No. That's Apocrypha. In the Bible.
Say the word Apocrypha, and you better be careful using that around me. Because Apocrypha just means that the Vatican Council, the First Nicene Council, didn't approve it. That's all that fucking means. It's like the word Apocrypha.
It is not in the Bible.
It's not in the Vatican-approved Bible.
Well, the thing
which is still also the King James Bible is still based on the Nicene Bible.
Well, the thing that I'm trying to get to is in one
you
of
try
the
you want to, but be careful using that word around me.
Oh my freaking! In one of the Gospels, Judas don't die. He uses the 30 silver coins to buy a farm, and he dies of being an old man who was taking some fruit from one of his trees, and he fell down to a bunch of rocks, and he died of the impact many years later. So there's various accounts of what could have happened to Judas. And yes, that thing condemning him, but somewhat that was even prophesied. Jesus knew what was going to happen, so it was the will of God that Judas eventually would do that.
That makes Judas just a tool.
Well, he is a tool. That's it. He is a tool. He was required for prophecy to be fulfilled. He had to do what he had to do, and that's why Jesus told him, "Go do what it is you have to do." He gave him permission to do it.
And the other thing was his motivation.
Here you go.
He was Jesus to be put in protective custody. That was what he wanted.
And that, and it is believed, and I believe this fervently, that the story of his demise was created to protect him from revenge. It's sort of the same thing that, this was brought up about the historical version of Cain. Even though I don't believe they were the first, Adam and Eve weren't the first man and woman, I believe that there is a historical version of that. That these are based on real people, but they weren't the first. Because clearly when you read Genesis, there were other people. Because they went and mixed with them. Well, where did they come from? That's the mistake that is made with Genesis in the Bible and in the Torah. But I'm going to share a link right now, guys. This is a link to Amazon to go get a copy of the book. It's $7.99 at Amazon for The Duel. And it is a great
issue with Amazon. I always have to be careful to ship it from somewhere close to me and not the US.
Yeah, because you pay crazy money for shipping. Crazy. Here it is. This is the book. It's the illustrated book. It's not got a lot of illustrations in it. But it has illustrations in it. It's not like a graphic novel or anything, but it's a really good edition of the book, and you can get it on Kindle for $2.77, paperback for $7.99, and it's a worthwhile book. Joseph Conrad is the author, and he wrote, and he's from Strasbourg, by the way, if you didn't know that. He is an amazing writer, and he inspired a lot of other creators to do that. And by the way, before we go to, I finished the third draft of my script, Jung, last night. And I found it to be one of the most emotional things I've ever written is the final scene from Jung, because I know what happened. And the end of the story takes place in 1955. And I know what happened, and I use that for the dramatic ending of the story. And it got me emotional writing it, because because it's fiction. It's fiction based on real people. And I'm writing my interpretation of what I think happened. I believe what inspired Jung to be the father of modern parapsychology. Researching the paranormal. He's the first real scientific researcher of it. He's, what drove him, and what you find out is that his grandfather was a medium and could see ghosts, like in The Sixth Sense. I see dead people. And as a child, he communed with the dead. And I believe he had the same gift as his father, and that's what pushed him into it. And that's how I wrote the entire story, is his ability to see the dead and commune with them. So, but that's for another day. If you've never read about Jung, go read. You can read about his psychoanalysis, or you can read some of the stories about him, biographies. They're all interesting, in my opinion. With that, I want to say bye to everybody. I heard somebody giggling.
Yeah, look at monkeys.
Mike Rutherford. Almost. You got almost the entire band. You also left out Steve Hackford. So anyway, Genesis, great band. But yeah, I get the joke. Penny, Andy Morrow, Monkey Jeebus, Glenn Fleming, Cavatino Caverman, Che Dragon Ruse, Alex Moore, and Keto Simple were all here in our chat. It was good seeing you guys. Hope everybody's having a good Monday.
Thanks for
it
joining
sucks.
us, guys.
Daylight savings time sucks. Everybody hates it. It's dumb.
I have
Get rid
two
of
more
it.
weeks. But every show that we're doing is 1 hour early for me now, and it's so confusing.
Yep. And Cavatino, if you ever want to hear what I wrote about, I'll let you read it. I'll let you read my script. Anyway, everybody have a great Monday, and we'll be back tomorrow with Brian and coffee. Let's go. Get us out of here, man.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye. Give me a second.
Oh, you're not prepared. All right. If I'd known that, I would have done it. Okay.